Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here looking at the semiconductors. This is the SMH. It's an ETF that tracks them. There are several of them out there. It's still near all-time highs in spite of all the problems that you hear. So I guess the point of this video is to not concentrate so much on what the media tells us the problems are. Because if you listen to the media, we are headed into oblivion. Especially the chips sector, which is in the direct line of fire of China. 5G, Huawei, all of that. You know, these guys should be hurting. Supply, demand, all that bullcrap. Well, if they're hurting, why are we near all-time high? Okay, this is a 1-year chart. And this is a 5-year chart. And this is probably an all-time chart. This is back to 2001. Clearly, there's not as much danger as they tell you that there is. Well, I should rephrase. Things are not as bad as they make us believe they are. All right, so having said that, the SMH is in a breakout. Depends on what time frame you look at. I had a discussion today about shorting it or not. I said this is not a short for me without cause. So I do remember sharing a few charts on it. Here's a weekly chart. And it shows that the red pattern developed and played out almost perfectly to our target. It retraced back to about 50%, which is a normal price action. A rally can give back about half of it, you know, according to, you heard of a guy called Fibonacci. The 50% is a natural place to stop and would be totally okay. Why does that happen? Because you want to shake out some weak hands, give some people the chance to, you know, weak hands are not bad. Give some people a chance to cash in some money. Not everybody's an investor. There are a lot of traders out there. I ask why this candle here, and this is not a coincidence. And look at it, and look at that. I mean, it's been pivotal for a while. Okay, so this is another eyeball level here that is secondary support. Actually, tertiary. First line of support, I think, would be here, which is the point of control. So what does that mean? Volume area, you know, the price action happens, right? You get buyers and sellers all throughout, and then you get the volume levels up here on a daily basis. But there's something called a volume profile, which is this mess right here. That's also volume, the same action that's down here. Only on this side, it displays it at the level where it happened. So if you can tell, you see how the volume is rising. Look at the volume up here. Look at the volume up here. And then look to your, which would give us an idea as to where that action happened. It's meaningful. This is one beef I have with Carter Worth on CNBC. You know, he gives us these nice trend lines. It all makes sense, but he doesn't tell us where the volumes came in. It's a telltale sign. For example, in this case, I know that even though we have action all the way down here and all the way up there, and if you look at it, it's almost split evenly. It's not. What happened is we had a thin trading down here to get to up here, a whole bunch of trading up here, and then now establishing a trade zone higher. And I can tell that by this little guy right here. If it's highlighted here, it tells me that this right here, this little box I drew, is the value area. This is where most of the action happened, which means that these edges are hard. What does that mean? If prices are falling, let's say that prices are falling towards 92, then this is support. If prices are rising inside this this box, then it's likely to be resistance. But once you cross over it, which they did, and so now the edges become supportive. On top of it, this line right here is the point where they agreed the most. This is where the fiercest battles happened. The most buying and selling happened. So it's the point where you know, they're going to get at it again. So this is the best support, clear support, with a chance of holding. And so looking at the volume here tells me that I have no reason to short this guy just because he's high. It's been selling higher lows, higher highs, one can argue, if not higher highs, if you want to say, well, it's gone nowhere. Well, okay. Well, it's knocking on the roof. And if they break through the roof, they're going to shoot higher. And if they shoot higher, they'll finish drawing this blue line, which I'll show you where the end of it is. All right, so let me show you one thing also here. If I simplify everything and I erase everything I just did here, and I go back to saying, okay, here was a big run. They spent some time consolidating just to make another big run, right? All right, so these are 3 pushes, ABCs, whatever you call them. I am not an expert at it. I just can spot them. I deal with a few of them, and this is what I saw here. So we shall see. Today I talked to a few friends of mine that are technicians, and one of them totally disagreed with me. He said this thing is topping off. I can't say, no, you're wrong. I'll say maybe, but if I'm long it, I'm gutsy enough to sit in it and see what's going on. So about that, I think today TXN kind of like poo-pooed everything. Taiwan Semi, oh no, Texas Instruments, sorry about that. Texas Instruments reported and just fell apart. They closed off the low, but it was not a pretty reaction. But that might be their story. I don't like to extrapolate. Let me see what it did to Intel. A little bit down, that's not too bad. NVIDIA was barely down. That's also not too bad. How about AMD? AMD was also barely down. So I'm hard pressed to give up on the whole sector just because of one report or two. Lam Research reported tonight, and I think it was red in the beginning, and then last time I checked it was up. So it depends where it opens tomorrow. This is LRCX. Good company, had value. I've lost money trying to catch it. I've had grief trying to catch it when it was value, so it could be a value trap is what I'm saying, so be careful where you're chasing that guy. But since he's still holding up here, the SMH are still a go for me. So if I'm long the SMH, I would stay in it to see the outcome of this. As far as specific levels, I don't remember if I said them. Above 120, it's intact the way it is. The buyers are in complete control over the short term on a daily basis, I should say. Let me see if I can get any information from the 60-minute. So, yeah, 120.5, I'm happy. This is going to be difficult. Here, the sellers are in control. So if it approaches 122.5, then the sellers will start coming in and lightening up. So we got a gap up here, gap below. Who's to come first? And a gap down here on the short term. So short term, it's a little iffier than the daily chart. The daily chart says, don't bother about the short term if you're not an intraday trader. As long as over 120, it's okay. And in fact, if I'm a little slower trader, as long as it's over 115-ish, I'm okay. And of course, we just talked about this guy right here. So it's all about time frames. Looking good on the SMH, looking good on the whole market. I know we've got tons of problems, but we also have a lot of good going on. So we'll see who wins out, fear or actual fundamentals. I mean, the P&Ls are